Have you ever heard a story so wild, so unbelievable, that you just had to know every single detail? Well, get ready, because today we're diving into one of the most astonishing tales ever told, the story of a man named Balaam and his talking donkey. Our story begins in the ancient lands of the Middle East. Balaam, a well-known diviner, had just received a very tempting offer from Balak, the king of Moab. The Israelites were camped near Moab, and King Balak was terrified. He wanted Balaam to come and curse them, promising him great riches and honor in return. After some back and forth with God, Balaam was eventually given permission to go, but with a strict warning: he was to say only what God told him to say. So, early the next morning, Balaam saddled his donkey. With two of his servants and the Moabite officials accompanying him, he set out on the journey. The air was probably filled with anticipation. Balaam might have been dreaming of the wealth he was about to receive, while the officials were pleased to be bringing such a powerful man back to their king. But they were all completely unaware that this was no ordinary road trip. God was not pleased with Balaam's intentions. His heart was clearly tempted by the reward, and an unseen guardian was about to make an appearance. As they traveled along the dusty road, the angel of the Lord appeared, standing in their path with a drawn sword in his hand. Now, here's the incredible part. Balaam, the famous seer, couldn't see the angel at all, but his donkey could. The moment the faithful animal saw the terrifying, sword-wielding figure blocking the way, she panicked. What else could she do? She veered off the road and bolted into a nearby field. Balaam was jolted from his thoughts. Annoyed and embarrassed in front of the Moabite princes, he didn't even consider why his normally obedient donkey had suddenly gone rogue. His first reaction was anger. He took his staff and struck the poor animal, forcing her back onto the path. He probably muttered under his breath, completely oblivious to the fact that his donkey had just saved his life. They continued on their way, with Balaam likely feeling irritated and the donkey feeling bruised and confused. But the angel of the Lord wasn't finished. He moved to a new position. This time, he stood in a narrow path that cut through to vineyards with a stone wall on either side. There was no room to turn left or right. As the group approached, the donkey once again saw the angel standing there, sword still drawn, blocking the narrow passage. Trapped, with nowhere to run, she tried to squeeze past the heavenly being. In doing so, she pressed herself tightly against one of the walls, accidentally crushing Balaam's foot against the stone. Balaam cried out in pain. His foot was throbbing, and his anger flared up again, even hotter than before. He didn't stop to think, wow, my donkey is acting really strange today. I wonder what's wrong. No, all he felt was his own pain and frustration. So, he raised his staff and beat his donkey again, harder this time. He was a man blinded by his own ambition, unable to see the spiritual reality right in front of him. The donkey had saved him a second time, and all she got for her trouble was another beating. The procession moved forward once more, the tension growing with every step. The angel of the Lord then chose his final position, a spot so narrow that there was absolutely no way to get around him. He stood, an immovable, shimmering obstacle in the path. When the donkey saw the angel for the third time, she knew it was hopeless. She couldn't go forward, she couldn't turn aside, she couldn't squeeze past. She had tried everything. So, she did the only thing she could think of to do. She simply lay down in the middle of the road, right there under Balaam. This was the last straw for Balaam. His journey was being delayed, he had been made to look foolish, his foot was in pain, and now his donkey was staging a full-on protest. He was furious. His anger exploded. He took his staff and began to beat the donkey mercilessly with all his might. In his rage, he had completely lost sight of everything except his own frustration. And then, the most miraculous thing happened. In that moment of intense anger and cruelty, God did something that would echo through history. The Lord opened the donkey's mouth, and the donkey spoke. Imagine Balaam's shock. He's standing over his animal, staff raised, when a voice comes from right beneath him. It wasn't a human voice. It was his donkey. She looked up at him and said, "What have I done to you to make you beat me these 3 times?" For a second, Balaam must have been utterly stunned. Donkeys don't talk. It's impossible. But what's even crazier is that he was so consumed by his anger that he answered her. He didn't faint. He didn't question his sanity. He just argued right back. He shouted, "You have made a fool of me. If I had a sword in my hand, I would kill you right now." Think about that. He's having a full-blown conversation with his donkey, and his first thought is to threaten her life. But the donkey wasn't done. She replied calmly, with a logic that her master was clearly lacking. She said, "Am I not your own donkey, which you have always ridden, to this very day? Have I ever been in the habit of doing this to you?" Her words cut through his rage. She was right. She had been his loyal companion for years. She had carried him countless miles without ever causing trouble. This behavior was completely out of character. For the first time, a flicker of understanding might have crossed Balaam's mind. He had to admit the truth. He replied, almost begrudgingly, "No." And in that very instant, as the truth of the donkey's words settled in, the Lord opened Balaam's eyes. Suddenly, he saw it. Standing right there in the road, exactly where his donkey had seen him all along, was the angel of the Lord, with his sword drawn and ready. The sight was so overwhelming, so terrifying, that Balaam immediately fell to the ground, bowing his face in the dust. The pride, the anger, the ambition, it all vanished in a wave of pure awe and fear. The angel of the Lord then spoke to him, his voice filled with authority. "Why have you beaten your donkey these 3 times? I have come here to oppose you because your path is a reckless one before me." The angel's words were a sharp rebuke. He revealed that if the donkey had not turned away from him those 3 times, he would have struck Balaam dead and spared the animal. The very donkey that Balaam had beaten and cursed was the instrument of his salvation. She had more spiritual insight than the great seer himself. She saw the danger he was blind to and acted to save his life, enduring his wrath in the process. Balaam was humbled. He confessed his sin, saying, "I have sinned. I did not realize you were standing in the road to oppose me. Now, if you are displeased, I will go back." But the angel had a different plan. He gave Balaam his final instructions, echoing the original command from God. "Go with the men, but you are to say only what I tell you." The journey could continue, but the lesson had been learned in the most unforgettable way possible. Balaam now understood that he was not in control. His mission was not to serve King Balak or to gain wealth, but to be a mouthpiece for God himself. And so Balaam got up, no doubt with a newfound respect for his donkey, and continued on his journey. He went to meet King Balak, but he was a changed man. He had learned a powerful lesson on that road, that God can speak through the most unexpected of messengers. And that true sight isn't about what you can see with your eyes, but what you can perceive with your heart. The story of Balaam's talking donkey reminds us to pay attention, to look beyond the surface, and to remember that sometimes the humblest among us see things the most clearly. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next video. See you next time.